Open your Bible to James. We preach most often, verse by verse, through books of the Bible or through different sections of the text. And we just started last week a series on the book of James. If you were not here, go back and listen and make sure you stay caught up. The text, we don't always have time to go back and rehearse everything, so there's plenty of opportunities to stay caught up through podcast and the website and the app and wherever else you might be able to download the City Church info each week. I don't know if there's anyone in here that lifts weights. There's probably people in here that are members of a gym. Whether you use that membership or not is up to you. But maybe we have some undercover ninja massive weight lifters in the room that I'm unaware of. Some of you I know lift some weights when you go to the gym. But can you imagine walking into a gym and seeing someone that obviously does lift weights, and they're lifting heavy weights, and they're grimacing and straining and sweating. Used to go to the gym with a dude that would lift heavy weights, and every time he would get ready to lift, he would go, "Hugh!" I don't know where Hugh came from, but that was his way of lifting. So we see this person that's grimacing and sweating and straining, and you walk over to that person and say, "What are you doing? Why are you pushing yourself?" Like, you wouldn't do that, right? Because you know why they're pushing themselves. They're lifting weights. Or it's approaching football season, so a lot of like two-a-days happening in high school sports now and some college. And if you see athletes out on the football field, you don't walk out there and say, "Why are y'all running so hard? Why are you sweating?" You know what they're doing. Or if you're in a gym and someone's running sprints or someone's running on a treadmill, you don't stop them. Or if someone's doing physical therapy, you don't stop and say, "Why are you pushing yourself so much?" We don't do this for a couple of reasons. One, you don't want to get beat up. And then two, you understand the process. Like, resistance is a way for muscles to grow. It's a way to gain strength. That the pain, the resistance, the struggle has a purpose. We've all heard this little cliche. You can finish it for me. No pain. There you go. Look at that. You know that more than you know your Bibles. No pain, no gain. James, the half-brother of Jesus, who wrote this book, and a key leader in the early church, the Jerusalem church, is writing to a group of struggling and scattered followers who are facing isolation, hardship, poverty, abandonment, suffering, and persecution. Many of them, if you trace early church history, have no doubt lost their homes, they've lost their jobs, they've lost their social standing, they've lost friendships. Many of them have even lost dear and close family relationships. And if you understand what's going on in the first century, and even in James's writings, many of them are struggling. They're struggling with their faith, and they're struggling in their faith. And James, his opening message is, we just read it, Whitney read it for us, rejoice, family, brothers, sisters, rejoice. In this season of suffering and isolation, God is doing something. He's doing something in you. God is making you stronger. And he jumps right in, doesn't he? There's no formal greetings or even personal prayers like we see oftentimes in Paul's letters. James moves directly into what we are to do with suffering. He moves directly into what to do in trials. He moves directly into the main idea of his entire letter, which is our faith is often tested in order to validate its authenticity. That the themes that he introduces here in these few verses will be revisited throughout his entire letter. And in summary, James teaches that life brings trials and that God uses those trials to test and shape our faith. And this tested and shaped faith leads to maturity and deeper joy. And this process has not changed. It was the same in the first century to these scattered and suffering followers of Jesus, and it is true for us today in 2025. So let's jump into our text, and we're going to talk through the truths that we find in these opening verses in verses 2 through 4 today. Verse 2, listen to the language here. Count it all joy, according to which translation you have here. May consider it all joy, my brothers. So again, this is a family conversation. James is relating with them. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet or face trials of various kinds. So the first truth that we're hit with right out of the gate in verse 2 here is this, and we all identify with this. Trials are inescapable, aren't they? Trials are inescapable. James doesn't say if you face trials. He says when you face various kinds of trials. Trials are coming. They are inevitable. There is no escape clause. There's no get out of jail free card. Trials are a guarantee in our broken world. This word face that he uses here, or meet, this when you face various trials, it means to fall into something unexpectedly. It is unplanned. It is unwanted. Like you don't plan for trials. They just happen unexpectedly. If you know what Ash and I have kind of been through in the last season of our lives, trials sometimes look like you are making a sandwich on your lunch break and you get a call from your boss that tells you after almost 11 years at the company you no longer have a job. Unexpected. Trials come in a lot of different types. Sometimes maybe you stumble across an email. That was unexpected. That catches you off guard. Maybe you're, caught on the kiss cam at a Coldplay concert. Sorry, too soon? They come unexpectedly. Maybe you notice a lump. Maybe you unexpectedly get rear-ended while you're sitting still at a light. Maybe you walk into your house when you've been gone for the day and it's 900 degrees and you realize that your air is not working. Maybe you just stop hearing from that person. Maybe the darkness invades your heart and soul again and you don't feel like getting out of bed again. Trials are inevitable and they come unexpectedly. And James says they come in all types. There are various kinds. They are relational, they are physical, they are emotional, they are mental, they are spiritual, right? If this is a multiple choice question, it is E, right? All of the above. Every realm of our existence, trials come in all types of shapes and formats, from flat tires to job loss to relationship struggles to health problems to heartache to betrayal to mental health crisis to depression, various unexpected trials, and they can rock your foundation. They can shake you. So what do we do when, not if, but when they come? Wrapped in this same verse is this second idea that we get out of James, which is this. Joy is a choice, not a feeling. Joy is a choice and not a feeling. James uses language here. Consider it joy. Consider it pure joy. Count it all joy. Again, according to what translation you're looking at, but the idea is the same. This word consider or count, the idea there in the original is that you have to lead your mind in a certain direction, that you have to direct your mind to a certain conclusion. Now, let's be honest, this is not intuitive. This is not natural. So that means it must be intentional. When these various unexpected trials happen, you must choose joy. And again, let's be honest, choosing joy is not natural. What is natural is complaining. What is natural is whining. What is natural is grumbling. What is natural is cussing about it. What is natural is doubting. What is natural is losing hope. What is natural is struggling and questioning God. What is unnatural is choosing joy in a trial. Listen to what I'm about to say. It is not natural to choose joy in a trial, but it is supernatural. Did you catch that? Watch it. It's not natural to choose joy in a trial, but it is supernatural. It is trusting in, resting in the truth that God is good and faithful, even when I am suffering, even when I am struggling, that I will choose joy. That joy is a choice. It is not a denial of the pain. It is a confident hope in the goodness and purposes of God, even in the trial. It does not mean you are happy about the pain. That's not where James is taking us, is it? It's not, woohoo, bring on the pain. I love pain. But it does mean that you are confident in God in the pain. You choose joy in the pain because you know what the pain is producing. It is working out your faith in the trenches and the grind of everyday life. To go back to our analogy, it is working out your pain in the gym, right? It is in the ball field of life where you are working out your faith that produces joy. So look where James takes us here. Verse 3, for, so that's a purpose word. So choose joy, count it all joy when you face these trials, these various trials. Here's our purpose clause. For you know, choice word, right? You know, you have to rest in and trust in, for you know that the testing of your faith produces something. It produces steadfastness or perseverance is how it's sometimes translated. And so the word here from verse 3, well, we have to be reminded what we're going to know. We're going to choose joy is that our faith, this text is telling us this, that your faith is refined by fire. Your faith is refined by fire. The testing of your faith produces something. So what is the refining of my faith? What is the testing of my faith producing? James says it is producing steadfastness or perseverance. That trials are not intended to destroy us. They are intended to refine us and to purify us. This word testing comes from this idea of refining fine metals in fire. There used to be a show, I think, on the History Channel or something, where these guys were like making swords and they were refining metals into all these cool things. It was interesting to watch how they would heat things up and how they would set things on fire because it was the fire that would purify. They would refine these fine metals by fire to remove the impurities, to prove the genuineness of something. Fire does not destroy gold. It removes what does not belong. It purifies the gold. It makes it stronger and better. And James's analogy here is that God uses hardships not to punish, but to purify. To strip away our self-reliance, to strip away the sin in our life, to strip away our immaturity. And in the process, he forges a faith that endures. The purpose is to produce perseverance, which is the ability to remain faithful over time. And so faith is refined by the fires of life. James is not done. Keeps walking down this path. And verse 4, let steadfastness or let this perseverance have its full effect. In other words, let it play itself out. And the way that it plays itself out is that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. And so again, general idea here that James is leading us is that endurance, this perseverance, endurance through the fire, exercising faith in the fire, Endurance brings spiritual maturity. It grows us up. Let perseverance finish its work, James says, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. You see, what happens in this fire, in this refining process, is spiritual growth and maturity. That we are fully formed, we are made whole, we are spiritually developed. This is God work. And this God work takes place in the fires of life. Now, let's be quick to say here, the opposite is also true. The follower who does not persevere through hardship remains shallow and unstable and incomplete. The word James chooses here is a maturity word. So they are immature. So let me just talk again, clear with you right now. I don't know about you, but at this stage in my journey, in my spiritual journey, like I want to spend time with believers who have been through some stuff. They've been through some life. I want to hang out with Jesus followers who have some battle scars. They've got wounds. Like they know what it means to endure. They know what it means to persevere. I want to walk with people who have been through the fire. Like, give me that seasoned saint who's been to hell and back, right? And they understand grace, and they understand humility. They understand God dependence. Like, give me that battle-scarred warrior who was formed in the fire. Like that's kind of what this group is. Like we know your stories. You know our story. And like it's not always buttoned up. It's not always polished, right? It's not just people putting on the face. And it's not just people that appear to have had their life together all their life, right? I was talking to a newer person at City Church recently, and they were like, man, the stories of the people that sit in your seats. I'm like, I know it. It's like battle scars. It's wounds. It's people who have been through some stuff. They've been formed in the fire of life. You know, I don't know, here for me, you know what gets formed in the fire? Gratitude, right? You've been through the fire, you're thankful for some stuff. Gratitude is formed in the fire. You know what's formed in the fire? Grace. Like I've been through some trials. I've been through some fires. I mean, you guys know our story enough to know like God's taken us through some stuff. Recently and in 15, 20 years ago. God took us through some stuff to form us and to shape us. I was telling my story recently to a guy who was just asking me about our story. It was at work, and we were kind of just had some downtime. He's like, dude, tell me your story. And I was telling him my story. And that's the kind of language he used. Like, dude, God's taking you through some stuff for a reason. And your life is forever marked by grace and redemption in a way that can only happen in the fire. Stuff gets formed in the fire. Humility, perseverance, joy, patience, long-suffering. By the way, there's a word for those things in the New Testament, isn't there? There's a phrase that Paul talks about. He calls it the fruit of the Spirit. That's what gets played out in the fire. That's what gets formed in the fire of life. So, I mean, as the dude standing on the stage, everybody's welcome in this church. But if you are a person who's been through some stuff, and you're wearing some wounds and some scars, and maybe you try to hide them a little bit, and you don't feel like you've got everything figured out and polished up, and don't have the khakis and the button-up completely ironed out right for everybody to see, it's okay to be here because you're sitting among people who've been formed in the fires of life. James teaches us here, trials are inescapable, you will face them. Joy is a choice, it's not a feeling. Faith is refined by the fire and produces perseverance. Endurance leads to spiritual maturity. Now, before we end this text, these 3 important verses, I need to remind us, because I told you, as we go throughout James, what our tendency is going to be. Our tendencies when we walk through these texts to jump to do stuff, to do this, don't do this, hang in there. And before we end, I need to remind us that what we're discussing is not how tough you are and not how much faith you have. And we're not talking about sucking it up and somehow making it through the fire. It's easy to take this word, perseverance or steadfastness, it's easy to take perseverance that direction and think that it is about you managing to hold on somehow. But that's not gospel. So let me give you gospel from these verses. We count trials as joy because Jesus endured the cross because of future joy. We'll break that down for you. We count trials as joy because Jesus endured the cross because of future joy. Hebrews 12:2. Look at this verse. Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, look at the verbiage here, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. He endured, I love the language of the Hebrew writer there, he endured the cross. Why? For the joy that was set before him. What that means is that Jesus did not avoid suffering, but don't think for a second that he enjoyed the cross. He did not enjoy the cross. He endured it. He scorned its shame, the scriptures say. But he was able to face the cross. Why? Because something greater lay beyond the cross. There was a joy that was set before him. And his suffering achieved something. It achieved the redemption of his people. It achieved the defeat of Satan and death. And his reunion with the Father in glory was restored. Jesus saw what his suffering would achieve, and it filled him with joy. We endure present suffering through faith in future joy, just like Jesus. We are called to live for the ultimate joy of pleasing God, of finishing the race, of being with Christ. Let me quote John Piper here because he breaks this passage out so beautifully. Here's what Piper says about this verse. The key to endurance is not mere grit, but seeing the joy beyond the pain. Jesus looked through the suffering and saw the resurrection. He saw the people he would save. He saw the eternal glory of God, and it was worth it. We choose joy because of what lies beyond the trial. The joy that was set before him. Another gospel truth from this text. We persevere, there's that word. We persevere not by trying harder, but by trusting deeper. Big difference. Gospel difference. As Piper teaches, the gospel is not about grit. It is about grace. Jesus does not save us from trials. He walks with us through the fire. We persevere not in our own strength or abilities. We persevere in his strength, in the finished work of the cross. Here's why that's good news. You do not have to muster up joy somehow. We possess joy. We have joy. It's a part of the fruit of the Spirit. And so we focus on trusting and not just trying. In our hardships and trials, we lean into who Jesus is. We lean into what Jesus has done. We lean into his promises. Some of you need to hear this morning. Remember, you are not being punished in your trial. Jesus already took our punishment. Trials are not about condemnation. They are about refinement and endurance and maturity. And so we trust him in the process, in the fire, in the struggle. We lean into who he is. Which takes us right to this next point that we cannot miss when we're walking through texts like this. Jesus is the reward. You get that, right? It's not making it to the other side. It's like, got through that, man. I'm tougher, bigger, stronger. Look at me. That's not the reward. Jesus is the reward. Trials make us more like Christ. God's ultimate goal is not our comfort. His ultimate goal is transforming us into the image of his Son. Trials are not about making us tougher. Trials are about making us more like Christ. What we get in the end is not always answers. It's not always comfort. It's not always relief. What we get in the end is Jesus. He is the reward. He is the treasure. He is the end goal. Let's end with this one. This takes us back kind of into our Desert Song series. The resurrection guarantees that no trial is too much. Hear me clearly. In our Facebook, social media day and age, hear me clearly. Some of you have said this, quoted this. I get it. It's out there. You hear it. Sounds good. You nod your head. You thumbs up it on social media. I am not suggesting that God will not give you more than you can endure. You have heard that. You may have liked it. You may have it on a plaque in your house. I don't know. But the idea that God will not give you more than you can endure is a cute Facebook post, but it is not Bible. Here's reality. God may give you more than you can face. It's why you need him. It's why you have to rest in him. It's why you have to trust him. Because there may be times that you say, God, I can't do this. I can't make it. I can't face another day. I can't go through this again. You reach the end, right? The end of you. And it's in those moments that we lean into him more fully. God may give us more than we can face. That's why we need him. That's why we need his power. But what the resurrection guarantees, here it is, there is no trial that has the final word in your life. There may be things that you can't face alone. There may be things that you can't get through alone. You need him and rest in him. But what the resurrection says is not that God will not give you more than you can endure. What the resurrection guarantees is that what you are enduring, no trial ever has the final word in your life. The resurrection of Jesus guarantees it. Trials do not win. Hardships do not win. Jesus wins. And it is because of the resurrection we can know that God is doing something bigger. When I'm at the end of myself, God is doing something bigger. He is transforming us into someone greater. And the resurrection guarantees the trials do not win. There's a pearl in the pain. What does that mean? You know how a pearl is formed? A pearl begins as an irritant, a tiny grain of sand trapped inside an oyster. And the oyster responds by coating the irritant layer by layer by layer with what's called nacre, or we call it mother of pearl. Coats and coats and coats until something beautiful is formed. The pain does not go away immediately, but over time it's transformed into something else. And you may be in a season where all you can feel is the grain. All you can feel is the sand. All you can feel is the irritation of the trial. It's raw and it hurts. But if you will trust God with it, if you will lean into Him, if you will lean into the finished work of Jesus, if you will let perseverance finish its work, He is forming something beautiful and lasting in you. A mature, tested, radiant faith. There is pearl. There is a pearl in the pain. Let's bow our heads for prayer.